Goodness, I mean, the dust's still settling. What does this big majority mean for the Albanese government's second-term agenda? Do they do things differently? Are they bolder, or do they just stay true to the course?
It's an interesting question. It's a huge majority. I don't think even the most optimistic people in Labor thought it'd be quite this big. 80-something plus seats, well into the 80s. So that gives them quite a bit of political capital. Not that they were counting on getting it. Most first-term governments don't get that sort of political capital. They got it this time. What do they do with it? My suspicion is they're pretty determined to stick to the plan. The Prime Minister talked, in essence, about not getting caught up in the hubris of the win. I think people also forget, and maybe they don't forget so much as recognise it without necessarily knowing it straight away. Anthony Albanese is actually quite a conservative leader. He's not a big risk taker. He doesn't throw, the dice on the table with big, bold, crazy things. Or as much as many people would sort of encourage him to do so on policies, perhaps around tax, perhaps around productivity. There's a lot of stuff that needs addressing. Voters were clearly worried about a lot of those issues, but I don't think you're going to see a very high-risk sort of taking Prime Minister out of all of this. He's going to have to manage the expectations that this election win gives him. It really is now up to him to solve some of these problems. He has the political capital, by which I mean he can sort of do more difficult things knowing that some voters at the next election might push back.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Jacob, given Jim Chalmers on Saturday night was talking about that push for greater ambition, but it seems like they really want to be quite a centrist measure at government going forward. Where to next, do you think, for the Liberal Party, given its collapse in support in the major cities? How do they rebuild? How do they attract women, Jacob? Because so many women have been in some of the commentary really left to the side in terms of their policy development and the pre-selection of women as well.
Women, younger voters, people who are more from the professional classes have all deserted the coalition, and we've seen that in the cities where the party now has really a threadbare representation. My suspicion is it actually gets even worse for the coalition before it gets better, before they address the issues you've just mentioned, because the people who've survived this wreckage do tend to be more from the conservative wing of the movement, whereas the more moderates, people like Keith Wallahan, Bridget Archer, they're all gone. They won't be in the room when decisions are made about, for instance, who the next leader is and what the policy focus should be. It'll be dominated by many of the people who were the architects, in essence, of this disaster, the people who promoted the nuclear policy, people who didn't have a set of economic arguments that made sense to Liberal voters. Why they went to an election with bigger deficits and a promise to increase taxes will be one of those questions that everyone's asking. So I think there is a really deep structural problem here for the coalition that won't be easy to solve. They'll need to take time. Some even suggest maybe they need to spell apart the coalition partners so that they can rebuild the various bases that they represent rather than doing it from this broad spectrum. It's a very, very difficult time for the coalition, and frankly it's probably the difficult time they should have gone through after the last election, but didn't. So it's a delayed period of self-reflection that they now have to go through again.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the Senate, but the numbers in the upper house look maybe a little bit more straightforward this time. Will the government have an easier time of it, do you think, this term, either dealing with the opposition or dealing with the Greens to pass laws?
Well, they will have two pathways. One is, as you say, through the Greens. They don't need someone like a Pocock, which is, if you recall, what the last term was like. Mostly it was Labor, Greens, and then two or three of the crossbenchers, like Jackie Lambie or Pocock. This time they can do it with just the Greens, but that throws up its own risks and challenges if they're passing things that end up hurting that big moderate centre that Labor has commandeered across the country. if they're dragged too far to the left by the Greens, they'll be very wary of that trap. They can also pass legislation with the coalition and a big list of independents. So there are two ways through for the government. They showed they were able to do it last term. I think they'll continue to do it in this term, but it'll be with that worry in their mind.